Well, good morning to you, Betty. Chief Justice David Maraga had indicated that the Supreme Court will be issuing that ruling at 10 a.m. this morning. Lawyers are yet to start arriving here at the Supreme Court, but outside, a heavy presence of security personnel. Roads, Taif, Wabera Street rather, and City Hallway have been closed to traffic to motorists, but pedestrians have their way around here. So heavy presence of security. We are waiting to see whether that ruling will indeed kick off at 10 a.m. as Chief Justice David Maraga had indicated. But really, as you mentioned there, D-Day for the country, the Supreme Court having to make a major decision. Remember, in their ruling on the 1st of September, nullifying President Uhuru Kenyatta's victory in the August 8th election. This time, will they be nullifying his win in the October 26th election again, or will they uphold his win and grant him the victory in the October 26th election? That is the decision that the Supreme Court judges are grappling with. We'll wait to see how they make a decision, whichever way they decide. How will they do it? In the other petition, the first petition, it was a majority of 4 judges who took a decision to nullify the election. 2 judges, Justice Njoki Ndungu as well as Jackton Ojwang, having a dissenting opinion. So this time, if it is by a majority, there are 6 judges. The Supreme Court has 7 judges. One of them, Mohammed Ibrahim, is indisposed. He has been away since the first petition. He did not take part in the decision in that petition. This time as well, he has not been around. So the remaining 6 judges are the ones to make that decision. If it's by a majority, it can only be 4 against 2 or 5 against 1, or maybe all of them will be reading from the same script. That we'll be waiting to see or hear from 11 a.m. this morning if the judges keep that time. Remember, they will be considering 3 main issues. One of them is the issue of nominations, whether or not the IEBC should have conducted fresh nominations of the presidential candidates. There's also the issue of the withdrawal of NASA flag bearer Raila Odinga, who withdrew from the presidential race, and what impact that had on the election. And also the issue of elections. They did not happen in 25 constituencies. Lawyers for the petitioners. There are 2 petitioners here, Haron Mwau, a former MP, as well as activists, Helef Khalifa and John Jomue. Their argument is that they are sort of questioning the popularity of Uhuru Kenyatta, saying the voter turnout was very low. Not everyone was given an opportunity to cast their ballot. So those 3 main issues. There are also various issues that were raised during the petition. There was also the issue of Uhuru Kenyatta, the lawyers for John Jomue and Helef Khalifa saying he had threatened the judiciary. There was the fact that the security detail of Raila Odinga was withdrawn. There was the issue of having some Jubilee women dressing in military fatigue. And when they were presenting their submissions before the court, Uhuru Kenyatta's lawyers, led by Fred Ngatia, argued that none of the utterances by Uhuru Kenyatta, not even the issue of the withdrawal of security, the security of Raila Odinga, amounted to an election offense. And there was no evidence, they argued before court, that any of those things had prevented anyone from going and casting their ballot, Betty. So this morning, waiting to hear what the Supreme Court will have to say, a decision that is being taken, you would say, as a country. Parts of the country experience some tension. So we'll be waiting to hear what the judges have to say this morning, Betty.
All right, Rita, before I let you go, let's just talk about really how the proceedings have been. And, you know, there are many people who feel that it lacked the vigor, of course, that we saw on August 8th, because, of course, the biggest players really are not, party to this one. But from your end, having witnessed what has been happening, what is your general feeling and take about the whole process since last week?
Well, since last week, I would say I was here during the first petition. I have been here for this petition as well. And I would say it lacked, what would you call it, the flamboyance that was there with the first petition. The first petition, from the day that the judges here began hearing the petition, there were supporters here making some noise. There were sort of confrontations with the police, some of them coming here trying to gain access to the Supreme Court. This time, despite the security that has been here, we have not seen any supporters, Jubilee supporters, trying to make their way here. Even this morning, it is just, I would say it is looking normal here in town, except the presence of the security personnel. And so, Betty, this time round, of course, in the first petition, NASA being the main player in the elections against Jubilee, being in the petition was also sort of helped to give it the attention that it got from the public. This time, Helef Khalifa and John Jomue, both of them activists, as well as former Kilome MP Harun Mwao, their petition has not generated or has not attracted that much attention as the other petition did. This time round, NASA, which was seeking to be enjoined in the suit, the judges blocked NASA out. The AG, Attorney General Githu Muigai, who in the first petition was an amicus curiae, this time was allowed as an interested party. Ekurua Aukot, who was a candidate in the August 8th as well as October 26th election, was also enjoined as an interested party. The lawyers, and so the petition this time round, it took longer because the lawyers were many. Two petitions, 3 people, though the 2 petitions by the activists were joined into one, were collapsed into one. So there were 2 petitions. Last time it was only one by NASA. This time more lawyers arguing their cases before court. Took 2 days for the judges to hear the petitions here, one day going up to almost 9 in the night. So, Betty, comparing this and the first one, aside from the time, almost the same time, though this took longer than the first petition, but it did not generate the attention that the first petition did. And for the IEBC, Betty, perhaps one of the people crossing their fingers that the judges will uphold Uhuru Kenyatta's win will be the IEBC. During the petition, their impartiality, the way they conducted the election came under question. Lawyers from John Jomue and Helef Khalifa saying that through the statements by Wafula Chebukati and also a press statement by Roslyn Akombe, a commissioner who resigned, it showed that the IEBC was acting under pressure. Wafula Chebukati could not guarantee, in his statement, he said that he could not guarantee that the commission would conduct a free, fair and credible election. The lawyers were also arguing that the IEBC, the fact that all the constituencies, 290 constituencies, no elections were held in 25 of them following violence in 4 counties in Nyanza, which the IEBC defended its decision, saying it did not cancel the election, it just postponed the election and had to act within the time limit, the 60 days that the Supreme Court ordered it to conduct elections, saying that it did all it could. The IEBC saying it took the materials there, officials were on the ground, but the conditions there, the environment was not conducive to conduct the elections in those areas. And that is one of the issues that the petitioners were arguing, saying that if elections were not held in 25 constituencies, that is about 3,600 centers that did not return their votes, 1.7 million people who registered voters who would have voted in those areas and who did not have a chance to do so. But the lawyers for the IEBC as well as Uhuru Kenyatta are arguing that in those areas, in fact, it is the leaders who are opposed to the election. They are the ones who triggered or rather instigated the violence, and so they cannot claim that the IEBC failed. They claim that it is the leaders from those areas. They rejected the election, they instigated the violence and asked their supporters to ensure that no elections will be taking place in those areas. So this morning, the issue of the elections, the issue of the nominations, the issue of the withdrawal of Raila Odinga from the race will be among the issues that the judges will be grappling with in their judgment. The issue of Raila Odinga's withdrawal, the judges, the lawyers for the petitioners were arguing that Raila withdrew from the race on a day that there were only 2 candidates on the ballot. That is Uhuru Kenyatta and himself. He withdrew on the 18th of October, and then the next day, that is when the High Court made a ruling allowing the other candidates to take part in the election. And so the lawyers were saying on that day, on the 18th, by the end of the day, there were only 2 candidates. One of them had withdrawn, so there was only one. And the thing that would have been ideal for the IEBC to do, according to the law, they say the IEBC should have called for nominations. But the IEBC, in its defense, saying that it acted the way it did based on the decision by the High Court, which on the 19th of October allowed Ekurua Aukot and other candidates to take part in the election. Betty.
All right, thank you very much. Rita Tinina there reporting from the Supreme Court, just giving us a background really of what has been happening there, the kind of arguments and the case that is really before the Supreme Court judges. Remember, any time from 10 a.m. They are expected to deliver that ruling that will either uphold President Uhuru Kenyatta's re-election or quash the election completely, which would really trigger another election in 60 days. That's according to the Constitution. So whether that will happen, we wait to see in the next maybe 1 or so hours. And we'll be bringing you the live details here on KTN News. All right.